Welcome to our deep dive into building your personal wellness plan. We've got some fascinating articles here by wellness expert Chase Weber, ND. It's like having a personalized wellness guide.
Absolutely. It's fantastic that you're interested in taking a proactive approach to your health.
So let's jump right into the core of Weber's approach. He calls it the wellness formula. And it seems like he's really focused on the idea that true healing happens when all the elements are working together.
What's interesting is how he breaks this down into four distinct parts. Constitution, stressors, health promoters, and treatment.
Okay, I have to admit, Constitution sounds a little intimidating, like something out of a history textbook, not my wellness plan.
Actually, it's quite intuitive. Weber frames it like detective work, where you're looking back at your family history for clues. Think about it. Are there any health patterns you see across generations? Maybe heart disease is prevalent, or there's a tendency towards autoimmune conditions. Those recurring themes offer a glimpse into your unique genetic blueprint, your starting point.
So if heart disease runs in my family, that's a red flag I should be mindful of right from the get-go.
Exactly. It doesn't mean you're destined to have heart disease, but it does give you valuable insight into potential weaknesses you can proactively address through lifestyle choices and informed decisions.
Okay, that makes sense. It's like having a heads up on potential challenges so you can plan accordingly.
Yeah.
Now, what about stressors? I think we all have a pretty good idea of what those are.
Weber definitely acknowledges the usual suspects, like work deadlines, relationship issues, financial pressures, but he also dives into environmental stressors, which I think is really fascinating. How does the quality of the air you breathe impact you? Are you getting enough natural sunlight? These factors play a role too.
That's interesting. It's easy to focus on the obvious stressors and completely overlook those environmental factors.
It's understandable. We're so accustomed to our surroundings that we don't always stop to consider how they might be affecting us. But Weber really emphasizes that our bodies are in constant interaction with our environment.
Okay, so now we've identified our potential weaknesses and the things that throw us off balance, both internal and external. Where do we go from here? What's the next step in this formula?
That's where health promoters come in, the positive habits that build resilience. Weber dives into these in detail, and it's where we really start to see the power of proactive choices.
I bet this is where it gets really interesting. I'm ready to hear about those daily doses of awesome that can make a real difference.
He breaks it down into 6 key areas: air, water, food, move, mind, and rest.
So basically all the essentials we need to thrive. I'm intrigued. Let's dive into some specifics. When Weber talks about air, what does he mean? We're all breathing, all right?
He emphasizes something called optimum breathing. He points out that shallow breathing, which so many of us do, especially when we're stressed, can actually lead to fatigue.
Wait, really? Just from not breathing deeply enough? I never realized that could be a factor in feeling tired all the time.
It's a common issue. Think about it. Diaphragmatic breathing, breathing deeply into your belly, is like a massage for your internal organs. It not only delivers more oxygen, but also improves circulation, helps your organs function more efficiently, and can even enhance mental clarity. It's about optimizing the entire system, not just taking in air.
You know, I often find myself taking shallow breaths when I'm stressed, and I never realized it could be contributing to my fatigue.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to try incorporating diaphragmatic breathing into my routine. Okay, what about water? I'm assuming he's not talking about sugary sodas here, right?
Absolutely not. Weber is a huge advocate for pure water. He even argues that our bodies don't react the same way to sugary drinks or even other beverages like juice. He makes us a great point. What do animals in nature drink? They drink water, and that's what our bodies are truly designed for.
So ditch the soda and go for the pure stuff. That makes sense, especially considering all the added sugars and artificial ingredients in most drinks these days. Now on to everyone's favorite topic, food. What does Weber have to say about optimum nutrition? I'm curious about his approach.
He makes a really fascinating connection between our modern diets and the diets of our hunter-gatherer ancestors. He asks this thought-provoking question: what would happen if we ate more like them? More natural animal protein, less processed foods. It's about getting back to basics and fueling our bodies with what they're truly designed to thrive on.
I'm picturing myself hunting and gathering my food now.
Yeah.
I understand the benefits of a hunter-gatherer diet in theory, but isn't it difficult to follow in modern life?
It certainly takes effort, but you don't have to live in a cave to incorporate those principles. It's more about making conscious choices.
So what are some realistic ways to apply that hunter-gatherer mindset to our modern eating habits? What would that look like in practice?
Think lots of fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, and healthy fats. And when you do eat meat, opt for grass-fed and pasture-raised whenever possible. Meat from animals that have lived a natural, healthy life.
Okay, that makes sense. And I'm guessing processed foods and refined sugars are definitely off the menu.
They're certainly not staples in a hunter-gatherer diet. But again, it's not about being perfect. It's about making informed choices that align with your overall wellness goals. You're in the driver's seat.
I'm starting to see a theme here. It's about stripping away the excess and getting back to the basics that our bodies crave. Now, on to move. I'm guessing he's not talking about moving from the couch to the fridge.
He's definitely talking about getting active, but here's a surprise. He's a huge proponent of walking. Weber cites research that shows walking might actually have more overall health benefits than even more strenuous activities.
That's music to my ears. I enjoy a good walk, but I'm not exactly training for a marathon. So simple, yet so powerful. Okay, mind. What's Weber's take on mental well-being? I'm curious to hear what insights he has to offer here.
He emphasizes the power of a positive mindset. We all know how damaging negative self-talk can be, and Weber really stresses the importance of cultivating those positive thoughts. But he also acknowledges that we're all emotional beings. It's not about suppressing emotions. Finding healthy ways to express them is key.
I love this quote from Weber. Success is a result of the anticipation of greatness. So envisioning a positive outcome can actually help bring it about. It's like the power of manifestation.
It's about setting your intention and focusing your energy on what you want to create. Our thoughts and beliefs have a powerful impact on our reality.
That's powerful stuff. Okay, finally, let's talk about rest. I think we could all use a little more of that in our lives. I know I can sometimes struggle to prioritize sleep.
Weber highlights the importance of sleep in a way I hadn't considered before. He explains that sleep is when our bodies truly rebuild. He talks about the interplay of anabolism, building up, and catabolism, breaking down. During the day, we're mostly in a catabolic state, breaking down energy. But sleep allows us to shift into an anabolic state where we can repair and rejuvenate.
So it's not just about catching Z's. It's about giving our bodies the time and space to rebuild and come back stronger. It's like hitting the reset button each night.
Exactly. Weber also stresses the importance of creating a relaxing environment for sleep. No screens before bed, a quiet and peaceful space. These things all contribute to a more restful night.
It's like setting the stage for optimal rejuvenation. This has been incredibly insightful so far. I'm feeling really inspired to take my well-being to the next level.
I'm glad to hear that. It seems like Weber's approach is incredibly holistic. It's not about quick fixes, it's about creating a sustainable lifestyle that supports your overall well-being.
Exactly. Speaking of taking action, I'm curious to know more about the specific ways Weber suggests we actually improve these 6 key areas. We've got the big picture, but I'm ready for some actionable advice.
Let's unpack that in more detail. Are you ready to dive into some practical tips and techniques that you can start implementing right away?
Absolutely. Let's explore how we can optimize these wellness habits and make them a part of our daily lives. All right, let's get practical. I'm excited to hear about those actionable tips and techniques you mentioned. Where should we start?
Well, since you mentioned struggling with sleep earlier, let's begin with rest. Weber is a firm believer in creating a consistent sleep routine. Going to bed and waking up at the same time each day, even on weekends, can really help regulate your body's natural sleep-wake cycle.
That makes sense. I know I'm definitely guilty of sleeping in on weekends, which probably throws off my internal clock.
Even a slight shift can disrupt that natural rhythm. And don't forget about creating that relaxing environment we talked about. Dimming the lights in the evening. Avoiding screen time for at least an hour before bed. Maybe try a warm bath or some gentle stretching to unwind.
It's all about signaling to your body that it's time to wind down and transition into rest mode. I love those ideas. I actually find that a warm bath before bed really helps me relax. Okay, so we've set the stage for a good night's sleep. What's next on our list of actionable tips?
Let's go back to air, since we were talking about the benefits of diaphragmatic breathing. Weber is all about making this a regular practice.
I'm all for it, but how do we actually make that a habit? It's not like I'm consciously thinking about my breath all day long.
You don't have to. Weber recommends setting aside a few minutes each day for dedicated practice. Find a quiet spot, sit comfortably, and just focus on taking those deep, slow breaths. You can even put a hand on your belly to feel it rise and fall with each inhale and exhale.
It sounds almost like a mini meditation. I can definitely see how that would be calming and help shift me out of that shallow breathing pattern I tend to fall into.
Exactly. And the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Eventually, you'll start doing it without even thinking about it.
I love that. It's like training your body to breathe more effectively.
Uh-huh.
Okay, what about water? We talked about the importance of pure water. Any tips on how to make sure I'm staying adequately hydrated throughout the day?
Weber's advice is to make pure water your primary beverage. That means cutting back on sugary drinks, limiting caffeine, and even being mindful of how much juice you consume.
I know I definitely need to cut back on soda. I love a good iced coffee. But I could try having a big glass of water before my coffee and then sipping water throughout the day. Think of it as a constant hydration ritual.
Exactly. It's about making those conscious choices and creating new habits that support your well-being.
Challenge accepted. Water first, then coffee. All right, let's move on to food. Weber's hunter-gatherer analogy really got me thinking about how I can make my diet more aligned with those principles.
He's not suggesting we all go foraging in the woods or start hunting wild boar, but he is advocating for a more natural, whole foods approach to eating.
So what does that look like in a practical sense? What are some easy swaps I can make in my daily routine?
Think about incorporating lots of fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, and healthy fats into your meals. And when you do eat meat, opt for grass-fed, pasture-raised whenever possible. It's about choosing foods that are as close to their natural state as possible.
And definitely limiting those processed foods and refined sugars we talked about earlier. I know those are my weaknesses.
It's about finding a balance that works for you. You don't have to be perfect. Even small changes can make a big difference over time.
Got it. I'm feeling motivated to make some adjustments to my grocery list. Okay, now let's talk about move. I'm curious to hear more about Weber's love of walking. How much walking are we talking about here? What's a good goal to aim for?
He recommends aiming for at least 30 minutes of brisk walking most days of the week.
That's totally doable. I could easily fit that into my routine. And remember, he said even gentle movement, like Tai Chi or yoga, can be beneficial.
Absolutely. Any activity that gets you moving and improves your circulation is a win. It's about finding what you enjoy and making it a consistent part of your life.
All right, so we've got our bodies breathing better, hydrated, fueled with healthy foods, and moving. What about our minds? We talked about the power of a positive mindset, but how do we actually cultivate that in a practical way?
It's about being mindful of your thoughts and challenging negative self-talk. When you catch yourself spiraling into negativity, try reframing the situation. For example, instead of saying, "I can't do this," you could say, "This is challenging, but I'm going to give it my best shot." It's a subtle shift, but it can make a big difference.
I like that. It's about shifting your perspective and focusing on solutions rather than problems. What about those times when I'm feeling overwhelmed by negative emotions? Are there any specific techniques Weber recommends?
He emphasizes the importance of finding healthy outlets for emotional release. It could be anything from journaling to painting to dancing. What are some activities you enjoy that help you process your emotions?
I do find that journaling helps me sort through things. I also love listening to music. It can really shift my mood. Sometimes just talking to a friend can help me process what I'm feeling.
Those are all great examples. It's about finding what works for you and giving yourself permission to feel your feelings without judgment.
This is fantastic. I'm really enjoying all of this practical advice. It feels so much more empowering than just hearing about the concepts in theory.
I agree. It's one thing to understand the principles, but it's another to actually apply them in your life. And that's what Weber is all about, empowering people to take control of their well-being.
Exactly. It's not about being perfect. It's about making small, consistent changes that add up over time. I'm feeling really motivated to make these changes a part of my daily life.
That's great to hear. Remember, even small steps can lead to big changes over time. Consistency is key.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about optimizing sleep, breathing, hydration, nutrition, movement, and even our mindset. I feel like we've got a really solid foundation for building a truly holistic wellness plan. Is there anything else we should touch on before we wrap up?
You know, we've explored these 6 key wellness habits in depth, but there's one more piece of Weber's wellness formula that we haven't discussed yet: treatment.
That's right. We talked about it briefly at the beginning, but haven't really delved into what it means in practice. I'm curious to hear Weber's take on this.
Let's explore that now. I think it will be a great way to round out our deep dive and give you a comprehensive understanding of Weber's approach to well-being.
I'm ready. Let's dive into the role of treatment in Weber's wellness formula. All right, so we've covered a lot of ground with Weber's approach to wellness, everything from understanding our unique constitution to cultivating healthy habits. But there's one piece of the puzzle we haven't fully explored yet: treatment. What does Weber have to say about this aspect of well-being?
It's interesting because while Weber emphasizes the importance of proactive wellness practices, he also acknowledges that sometimes we need a little extra support. That's where targeted interventions or treatments come into play.
So it's not about relying solely on treatments, but rather using them strategically as part of a holistic approach.
Exactly. Weber's view on treatment aligns perfectly with his overall philosophy. It's not about masking symptoms, but rather addressing the root cause of an issue and supporting the body's natural healing processes.
That makes sense. So what does that look like in practice? Are there specific types of treatments that he recommends?
Weber emphasizes that treatment should always be tailored to the individual. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
So it's about finding a practitioner who really sees you as a whole person and takes into account all those factors we discussed earlier, your constitution, stressors, lifestyle habits.
Absolutely. He stresses the importance of finding a physician who sees you as a partner in your wellness journey, someone who listens to your concerns and works collaboratively with you to develop a personalized plan.
It's like having a health advocate in your corner. But what about the treatments themselves? Does Weber endorse any specific modalities?
He's actually quite open-minded when it comes to different approaches. He lists various types of treatment, including modern medicine, nutritional medicine, natural medicine, physical medicine, immunological medicine, and environmental medicine.
That's quite a range. It sounds like he encourages people to explore diverse options and find what resonates with them.
Precisely. He believes that each individual is unique, and what works for one person may not work for another. It's about finding the right approach for your specific needs and preferences.
That's really empowering. It puts the power back in the individual's hands to make informed decisions about their health care. But I'm curious, how does treatment fit into the overall picture of Weber's wellness formula?
It's important to remember that treatment is just one piece of the puzzle. It's most effective when combined with the other three elements: understanding your constitution, managing stressors, and cultivating healthy habits.
It's like all those pieces working together to create a symphony of well-being. Each element plays a vital role in creating a harmonious balance within the body.
I love that analogy. It really captures the essence of Weber's approach. He sees true healing as a holistic process, a harmonious integration of all these elements working in synergy.
This deep dive has been absolutely incredible. We've explored Weber's wellness formula in depth, uncovered some fascinating insights about our bodies and minds, and even gathered some practical tips for creating a healthier, more vibrant life.
It's been a joy to unpack these articles with you and discover these gems of wisdom together.
And now I have a final thought for you to ponder as you embark on your own wellness journey. If you could pick just one of these wellness habits to focus on for the next week, which would it be and why? What small change could you make today to move towards greater well-being?
That's a wonderful question to reflect on. Remember, even small steps can lead to big changes over time. The most important thing is to start somewhere and to keep moving forward on your path towards optimal health.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into wellness. We hope you've gained valuable insights and feel inspired to take charge of your health and well-being. We'll see you next time for another exploration into the world of fascinating ideas,